What is up, guys? Welcome to Hobby Harvest. My name is Ken. Today I want to talk to you about things that you should consider when selecting what your harvest goals are for the property that you hunt, and that could be public or private land. Now, I know a lot of us, when we get out and are hunting, we want to shoot the biggest buck in the woods. Obviously, that's a goal, right? But we need to really consider what is an acceptable deer to pull the trigger on, of what fits our personal goals and what a realistic goal for the property we hunt is. Now, everybody's different across the board. Some people just want to put meat in the freezer and they're going to shoot the first deer that you see. We usually call these people, it's brown, it's down hunters. And that's fine. Venison is awesome. But what if we set a better standard for targeting deer that might allow us to put consistent venison in the freezer without shooting the first deer that steps out in front of us? You would have a much better opportunity to maybe shoot that big buck that's on camera. But if you shoot the first doe that walks in front of you on opening morning, you might blast out your whole land and that big buck is never going to come back for the entire season. So that's not something you want to do either if you do want a shot at that big buck, right? So what can we do? Well, first off, we need to scout the land. We need to get our trail cameras out there. We need to drive around the area and check out the fields right before dark, see what is in the area, get a good census of what the overall deer herd is in the area. Now, for me, I'm down here in southeastern Wisconsin right now shooting this video. My goals or my target deer down here are completely different from what my goals or my target deer are on my northwestern Wisconsin property, because the deer herd is completely different in both areas. Down here, there's a lot of ag, a lot of swamp, a lot of thick cover. Up there, there's mostly just open hardwoods. There's some regeneration, obviously, where some foresting activities have taken place. But for the most part, that is the big woods up there. And there is no ag within miles of many locations up there. So up there, an 8-pointer with a 12-inch inside spread might be in the top 25% of biggest bucks in the woods up there. Down here, that doesn't even break the top 50%. So first off, we really need to get that census. We need to figure out how many bucks we have, how many different size bucks we have, but also how many does and how many doe family groups we have. So I guess we should start by, if you want to shoot a doe, you should probably at least know how many doe family groups there are in an area and know how many you could get away with harvesting. Because like here in southeastern Wisconsin, the DNR will print me off doe tags until the printer runs out of ink. But that does not mean that I should shoot and fill every single one of those doe tags, because that's going to have a severe negative effect on my chances of having success next year, the year after, and on, especially if I were to keep harvesting does like that year to year. Eventually, there's not going to be much left in the area. And I've unfortunately seen that happen to some people, where they fill a pickup truck with does, and then the next year maybe a few less, and then the next year after that, they're like, we didn't even see a single deer. Well, yeah, because you shot all your does for the last 2 years. Now, that doesn't mean you can't shoot a doe or a couple or whatever, but just make sure you're aware of what's in your area, how many does are in your area, and adjust accordingly. So just because you have 8 doe tags to fill, if there's only 8 core does and yearlings in your area, you probably don't want to fill all of those tags. Now, with bucks, I like to think of it more as a percentage of your total buck population. So you always hear guys talk about, this is my target buck, right? And then they show you a picture from the middle of the night at sometime in July, and they haven't seen the buck since. Well, yeah, but the chances that you're actually going to harvest that buck, not likely, right? So to say that that's your target buck, okay, cool, that sounds good. But like, set your goals to something that is achievable, and a buck that you haven't seen in months, and when you did see him was the middle of the night, that is not a core buck. That is a buck that just happened to be moving through your area and you got a picture of him. The chances that you're going to run into him during the daylight while you're sitting on a stand is like 0%. Now, yeah, there's always that small percent chance, like less than 1%, that buck might come running through during the rut or something. But if you don't have consistent pictures of these bucks, the chances that you're going to have a good percentage chance at harvesting them is not likely. So set your goals to what those core bucks are. And what I would consider a core buck is obviously any buck you're seeing during the daylight, any buck you're seeing consistently, but not just the daylight. If they happen to come through an hour after dark, 2 hours after dark, that's okay too, because it means they're not that far away, and you do have the opportunity of getting them there a little early one night and having a chance at harvesting them. But that buck that's coming through at 1 o'clock in the morning and he only comes through once a month, like, he is not a core buck. That's not something that you should goal your whole hunt around, because you just don't have the chance really at harvesting him. So the other thing I like to think of too is, instead of putting like, I'm going to harvest this buck and I'm going to let everything walk unless I see this one, like, that's okay if you want to do that, but I don't like doing that personally. What I like to do is say, look at all of my bucks on a whole like this and say, I want to target the top 25% or the top 1/3 or whatever. And which bucks are those? Are those, 8-pointers and up, 8-pointers, that are really wide and really tall and up? Maybe it's a 10-pointer and up, whatever it happens to be. Setting that as a goal is far more attainable year to year than saying, this is the buck I'm going to harvest this year. Now, yeah, you can do that. And if you have them coming in consistently, then by all means, go for that. But it's a lot easier to attain a goal by making it achievable than it is to say, hey, I'm going to shoot this one buck, right? Now, maybe your goals aren't even that strict. Like, maybe you just want to harvest a buck. You're going to fill your buck tag on the first spike that walks under you, and that's fine too. That's venison in the freezer as well. Not everybody's a trophy hunter. And I guess the other thing that I should point out too is, when you are setting these goals, don't base your goals on what somebody else has for a goal or what somebody else posts on social media. Of course, the downfall of social media is everybody shows you their best moment, right? So some guy's going to show you this huge buck that he shot, but he shot it 5 years ago and he hasn't had success in the last 4, right? Or maybe he is having success every year and he's just got a phenomenal property that yours could never reach that full potential because of just where you're at, the soil, the climate, whatever. Maybe the winters are too harsh. So just set your goals based on your goals. Don't let anybody else like influence that, this guy shot this huge buck, I have to shoot a huge buck like that. Whatever's gonna make you happy, great. And that counts for on your property too. So you may be an experienced hunter, you've harvested a whole lot of deer in your life, so your standards may be up on this higher end, but maybe your kid is down here somewhere because they haven't had the success of harvest that you've had over your lifetime, and that's fine too. So like, if your kid wants to harvest something down here but you want to harvest something up here, like, that's okay. Like, they're going to be excited about it, and you should be excited for them about that. Even if you have like an overall property management goal of certain deer sizes and whatever, that's cool, but just like, make sure you're not like having a negative effect on those new up and coming hunters by telling them they have to shoot this big buck when they would be happy as ever to just shoot like a fork or something, right? Because you're not doing too much harm to your herd to take a young buck if you're trying to raise big bucks. Yeah, that's a young buck that never grew up into a big buck, but we know how bucks change their habits as they get older, so there's no guarantee that that fork is going to be a consistent mature buck on your property in a few years anyway. So don't have a negative effect on that new up and coming hunter just because you're trying to achieve something for yourself later, right? And that's something that this community is pretty good at, is supporting each other and letting everybody, like, helping each other, giving them tips and tricks, and getting everybody to have a successful hunt, whatever that may mean for them. Now, there are several ways that you can increase your deer herd by size or by quality. Now, those are things that you're going to have to do on private land because you don't have the control over the public land. And there's a lot of resources on my channel as well as on other people's channels on YouTube here. And those are great to check out so that you can increase that quality of herd, and then maybe over time increase what your goals for harvest of that herd are too, because the herd is giving you a better opportunity year after year because of your improvements. And you know, everybody has different goals for what they would consider a successful hunt. So why don't you guys go down in the comments and let me know what your goal is when you're targeting. If it's a point count, if it's a score count, if it's just the first buck you see, if you're a brown it's down hunter, it's all okay. Everybody has their own reasons for hunting how they hunt, but go ahead and let me know down in the comments what you guys target when you go out in the woods to hunt. All right guys, if you feel like you got some value from this video, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. It really helps this channel to grow and to reach more people, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.